So with that view in mind, do you think then that abortion should be legal or illegal?
I think it's very, in my opinion, very case dependent. Because, like, I definitely don't think birth control is, or using it as a method of birth control because, like, oh, well, I didn't really care at the time, but now I'm pregnant, or like, I got someone pregnant, it's like just abort it type thing. I have a little bit of an issue with that. I can understand cases of like rape or incest, or like, you know, I can definitely understand that because, I don't think any like woman has to like, it's going to be hard on her no matter what. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you saying. First of all, totally agree. Abortion as a form of birth control is super irresponsible. I don't think that should be legal. But I'm also glad that you bring up rape because I think that it's often the elephant in the room in a lot of abortion conversations. But I think it demands to be talked about because there are actually women in that circumstance. And I think a lot of the times, well-intentioned pro-life people, when this question comes up, they respond to it by saying, well, that's only 1% of abortions. You don't justify the rule because of the exception or whatever. And when I take off my pro-life lenses and put myself in like the shoes of a pro-choice person, what I hear is, I don't care about women who have been raped. Who cares? Like, their suffering doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
And that sounds awful.
Yeah.
And, I really, this is like honestly something that I struggle with a lot because I hear the stories of women all the time when I'm talking to people on campuses and sharing how they've been raped. They might go into detail, maybe they don't, maybe they share me that they got pregnant from it. And it's really real. Like, even if it's only 1% of abortions, that's like still, 9,000 women every single year who are in that circumstance. And I think what's, obviously rape is self-evidently wrong, but it's especially wrong because a man is supposed to be the protector of a woman, right? He's not supposed to be her predator. And when I'm thinking through this, something that helps me process it is kind of looking at it through the paradigm of like, if the unborn are not human beings, then of course a woman should be able to get an abortion in the case of rape, right? So I don't want this woman to be reminded of the trauma. I don't want her to, be unable to heal for whatever reason. I want her to have the utmost extent of healing that she can.
Yeah.
But if the unborn are human beings, that is another human that we're dealing with in this situation, right? And something that helps me see it with more clarity is, again, looking at clear cases. So let's just imagine that we had a woman who was raped, and now in her arms she's holding a 2-month-old, right? And usually when a mom looks at the face of her baby, she's filled, she's overwhelmed with like love and all these good emotions. But when this woman looks at her 2-month-old, she's reminded, she's filled with fear and pain because she's reminded by her baby's face of the face of her rapist. Now, can we agree that she should not be able to kill her 2-month-old, even if she thought it might actually help her heal?
Yeah. No, she shouldn't kill the born baby.
Okay. Totally on the same page with
Yeah.
you, as you probably guessed. But I think, though, us saying that she can't kill her 2-month-old is not invalidating her pain. It's not ignoring her rape. What we're doing is we're trying to respect the dignity and rights of her 2-month-old, right? We don't think that the solution to her trauma is to cause more violence to another human being, right?
Yeah.
And so kind of pulling it back to abortion, I ask myself, well, if the unborn are human, like that 2-month-old, then I think we ought to protect the unborn like we protect that 2-year-old, because I'm actually against abortion for the same reason I'm against rape, which is that it's harming another human being. So that was, again, another mouthful. What are your thoughts?
No, if you put it like that, it makes sense of why you wouldn't want that to like occur. Honestly, I've never like had like an experience of like being close to someone that did experience where they had like, or they didn't have to, but they wanted to consider abortion, or so I don't know exactly how I'd react in that moment, but I mean, it does make sense of putting it as like, she did have it, it's a terrible situation. She never should have had to go through that, but she did have the baby, and so obviously she legally can't go and kill that baby after she's had it. So I guess it makes sense, like, apply the same rights, like the unborn fetus, especially with, like, what we were talking about earlier with, it growing up.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, it seems like we're both on the same logical track here.
Yeah.
And, when I talk to a lot of people about this, a lot of people do agree and they understand, but sometimes it's just really hard for them to say that it should be illegal in that circumstance. And I don't know where you're at. I haven't asked you what you're thinking, but I think it's reasonable to struggle with that question because, when I am processing on it, my mind sees the logic like you just pointed out, but sometimes my heart is just like, this is so messed up still, right?
Yeah.
And when I've been reflecting on it, I don't think it's because my heart thinks abortion in this case is right. I think the problem is that my heart is devastated because it knows rape is so wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so I just have to really think to myself, okay, what can we do to help this woman in a way that doesn't involve violence, right? Because I want her to have all the choices she can. I just don't think that a violent one should be one of those choices.
Yeah.
So, in general, where do you think you would stand on abortion?
In general, I think I'd be more against abortion. I think kind of what you're saying, like logically, I can totally understand like being against it, but like I feel bad for even like the kid and like the mom because like say she doesn't go through that abortion, she either can keep it or she can put it up for adoption, but I know the adoption system is really hard on the kid too. It's like I feel that's where I feel conflicted on that like one part. But I can definitely see like logically it would make more sense to like, not go through and abort a child.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Honestly, I have thought about it and talked with like a lot of my friends. And I think that was like a really interesting but like good way to like think about it because I've never really thought about it that way. But yeah, I agree. I do feel conflicted, but I think I do agree.